Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 13, Episode 69. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thank you for being back with us here this Monday, Steelers Nation, this Victory Monday. And what a victory it was. Pittsburgh beating the Baltimore Ravens 16-13 on Sunday night to move back to 500, 8-8. And Dave, yet again, it was another perfect weekend. I don't know how they keep doing it, but there's somehow... they got a real shot at this thing.
They actually do have a real shot at this thing now. And as you stated, things just keep breaking their way, and also they're doing their part on their end to win these games on top of it these last few weeks. And there is a legitimate shot now, especially when you look at what's going on in Miami with the quarterback situation. And on top of that, we'll see what happens in this game, on Monday night between the Bills and the Bengals. I think Steeler fans probably want to root for the Bills in that one. So they definitely have something to play for when it comes to a possible bye, when they play the Patriots in Week 18 there. But it's very plausible that you have the Bills beat the Patriots in Week 18, and the Jets could possibly beat the Dolphins. And then if the Steelers take care of their own business at Acrisure Stadium against the Browns, they're in, man. It's as simple as that right now. They need to win, and the Patriots and the Dolphins can each either lose or tie, because the Steelers need to finish ahead of both those teams. And if either the Patriots or Dolphins or both wind up tying, they of course would be 8-1 within that. The Steelers would be, of course, 9-8 in that. So that would be, they would obviously get the spot in that situation there. But let's not worry about ties. They still have one game to go, and they still need a little bit of help. But boy, you couldn't believe the way both those games broke earlier in the afternoon. Those games being the Patriots beating the Dolphins and the Seahawks obviously beating the New York Jets.
Yeah, Dave, just a wild couple of weeks. This team was 3-7 not too long ago, and now they're ringing in the new year with a huge victory over the Ravens and back to 500 and really have a, as you said, realistic shot of everything breaking their way again in week number 18. So before we get into some of the housekeeping and roster moves and actives and things of that nature, just have to say, people were mad at me last week for Kenny Pickett not being on the winners list. I promise you he was on the winners list this time around. What a showing from him. I know the box score is not going to indicate how good of a game that was, but Pickett played, to me, easily his best game of the season, and that final drive was a 10 out of 10. This team grew up last week, Mike Tomlin said. They became men against Baltimore.
And you beat Baltimore in that fashion in Baltimore. With that much on the line, like was the case last night, final drive and having to go 80 yards to do it, and some of the plays it took to do it. Yeah, you're right. And there was that great video this past week, the Mike Tomlin mic'd up aspect from the game against the Raiders, and saying, hey, we grew up tonight. Well, indeed they did. And they really grew up, as you stated, against the Ravens there. So, there were a few things that I had said that I wanted to see out of Kenny Pickett still, and hopefully see in these final few games. And one of those was pushing the football down the field, and preferably in the middle of the field. And then the other was to, make a play inside the red zone, finish finish one of these key drives that way through the air. And boy, did he do that, and out of structure at that. He has now done everything that you really want to see, a quarterback do, and now you just want to see more of it, and obviously more points produced on top of it there. So if they can, like I said, I wanted to see him do several of these things, and he has now checked, as far as I'm concerned, every box.
Same. And we'll talk more about that final drive here in just a little bit, but let's reset things and talk about what happened leading up to the game. Pittsburgh making a roster move on Saturday in promoting defensive lineman Wren from the practice squad to the active roster. He dressed. I don't know if he played in this game. I don't believe
one
he
snap,
did.
I think.
One snap?
Yeah,
okay.
Wasn't much if he did. I think the game book shows him as one defensive snap in this one. But
it was an indication of a hint at this team was going to go ultra heavy to stop the run, bring an extra defensive lineman. That generally was the game plan against Baltimore. From the inactive standpoint, Mark Robinson, of course, playing heavy snaps in this game, also, as we kind of suspected. And credit to you, Dave, on Saturday when this team promoted Wren, we're wondering would they do that? What's the inactive active roster going to look like on game day? And you said, hey, Malik Reed might be down again. He was down in the first meeting against Baltimore. He was inactive for this game as they kind of had the Marvin Leal as a de facto number 3 outside linebacker. And so it was Wren getting the hat over both Jonathan Marshall and Malik Reed.
Yeah, look, I think what really got that for me is going back and looking at, what happened in that game against the Ravens the last time ahead of it. And, I think ahead of that game, didn't Malik have a back issue or something? Yeah. But then he actually did not have a game status going into that game and technically ended up being a healthy scratch in that one. It just kind of felt like at that point, because look, I did not see the Wren elevation coming. So I almost turned in my projected inactive list a couple hours before that, because I was thinking, surely they're not going to make a move the way this injury report is shaking out. But they did, and I'm glad it held off in that, because as soon as they did, as they did that, as soon as they made the elevation of Wren, I really started thinking, man, this is the Ravens. They're going to want to try to have a lot of beef if needed up front there. Malik Reed was a healthy scratch that last time. He's kind of undersized. He didn't play. He doesn't play that much on special teams, hardly any. It would be kind of foolish to dress him at that point. And that's why at that point I kind of thought that Malik Reed would be the odd man out, and he was. And I think that speaks a lot about what they think about him now at this point too. Not that they were very high on him anyway at this point in the season, but right now and going into this final game as well too, this is going to be a Browns team that's going to try to bludgeon the Steelers on the ground as well too. So I don't know what injuries could obviously shape this thing, but I wouldn't be too terribly shocked as we sit here right now. Malik Reed ends up inactive for the final game.
Yeah, if you're inactive in both games against the Ravens, the team that you're defined by, then that's not a good sign there. But yeah, that was the approach, and we'll talk more about Pittsburgh's schematic employment and the things they did differently this time around to much better minimize the Ravens' run game as compared to week number 14. But just to go back to the statement I made, in Pittsburgh and in Baltimore, you're defined by what happens in Steelers-Ravens games. It doesn't matter what you do against the out-of-conference opponent or the other AFC other teams, whatever. You're defined by what you do against Baltimore. And what this team did against Baltimore on both sides, offense, defense, but of course focusing around what Kenny Pickett did on that final drive. Those are the things that the right chapters in books get talked about a decade from now. And I don't know what's going to happen in week 18 and potentially beyond, but I know we'll be talking about what happened on Sunday night for quite some time.
I was thinking back last night as I was trying to unsuccessfully go to sleep for a few hours.
I'm sure that worked wonderfully. You got your 8 hours and you're fully rested.
Yeah, man. And I'm been battling this back issue too, and I get these spasms once I lay in bed, and it makes it doubly, triply hard on top of my other issues. But that's a story for another day. But I was thinking back, that game against the Browns, handful of games in during Ben Roethlisberger's rookie season, when he extended the play and made that play down the field to Plaxico Burress. I've always kind of considered that the kind of moment, with Ben kind of becoming Ben, if you will. Last night on that, several times, really. I mean, even in the first half of that game, Kenny extended a play and out of structure and kind of threw back to the middle of the field to Pat Fryermuth. I think that was a third down play on top of it there. But there were a handful of plays in that game against the Ravens from Pickett specifically, and quite a few of them out of structure, where I thought, man, those are some grow up. Those are some turning point kind of plays there. And I mean, specifically the touchdown, extended play, and then the throw to Najee Harris there. I think we have an opportunity now to circle that play in particular as being, man, that was the moment. There. So look, I don't know what's going to happen with the kid from this point forward, but as I said at the top of the show, we've seen him do, in my opinion, everything that we want to see a young franchise quarterback do. Now, would I like to see him be able to push the football down the field even more? I don't think he's ever going to be kind of the long ball guy, let's say that, like Joe Burrow is, sure, or definitely like, some of the more stronger arm guys like Josh Allen, those kind of guys. I don't, we'll see, but that throw to Steven Sims in the middle of the field. I mean, that's a tight window, middle of the field, down the field throw. You're not going to find many better throws than that. And then once again, some of the things he's done out of structure. So, in short, look, this was classic Steelers Ravens, right? Or at least what we've known Steelers Ravens to be for some time now. I think we have an opportunity maybe to circle this game as a look back moment, down the road. And we'll obviously see how Pickett keeps going from here. But once again, I think there were several instances in that game that made me say, okay, well, these were the final few boxes that I wanted to see him check.
Absolutely. And I mentioned the same, that if Kenny Pickett becomes the guy, if 2 years from now we're talking about he is the true franchise quarterback, the true heir to Ben's throne, we're talking about this Ravens game on January 1st of 2023 as the breakout game, the catalyst. I mean, obviously he did that against the Raiders at the end there, but I think start to finish, Pickett was better in this game than he was against Las Vegas. I think the final drive was more difficult, more impressive than it was against the Raiders, not discrediting what he did against the Raiders to bring the team back. A really strong final drive there, but the high level throws to Fryermuth, to Sims, to Harris. I mean, 3, top tier A+ plays in again, the moment as well, on the road, Baltimore, season on the line, prime time, et cetera, et cetera. Can't say enough about that performance. And again, the box score doesn't look all that impressive. I mean, what were the final numbers on Pickett? He went 15 to 27, $168 and a touchdown. But you watch the tape, you watch those exact plays, and you watch what he did in the critical moments. You sit there and say that is a wow performance.
I mean, and here's the thing. How did we say the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to win games this year? Probably running the football, probably playing good defense, and not turning the football over, right?
Yep. Low scoring, close game.
And if you go back to Roethlisberger's rookie season too, 27 attempts, I'm not going to criticize. Here's the thing: he can make plays out of structure now. Okay, if there's anything that you want to see now from Kenny Pickett, it's maybe more plays in structure. But as you go through a season when you're going to win games at the NFL level, there are going to be games where you probably need to make 2 or 3 plays out of structure, and he has the ability to do that. I think last night there were 1 or 2 plays where you saw him step up into the pocket and maneuver in the pocket and make a couple of plays in there. So that was good to see as well too. So look, I mean, in today's NFL, I mean, everything seems to be kind of cyclical, right? In the NFL right now, it seems to be, man, if you can run the ball effectively, not turn it over, get about 4 explosive plays in the game, you can win some of these games. I mean, scoring seems to be down a little bit across, quite a bit across the NFL in here. And I mean, they won this game in kind of old 2004, 5, 6 kind of fashion there. Play good defense, run the football, don't turn the football over, and make a few plays in the final drive of the game. So yeah, his box score probably is not going to reflect that. I mean, but go, kind of go through the incompletions real quick, Alex. I mean, the end zone fade to George Pickens. I mean, that ball was on the money. I mean, people will probably say, I don't like the call. You don't like the call when it's not successful, but I thought the ball was on the money there.
I thought the call was fine. I mean, Pickens is a jump ball machine against their backup corner. Give your guy a chance.
Absolutely. I mean, I need to sort some of these so I can go through some of these incompletions that he had here.
I thought even the on that last drive, the double move to Deontay was a really well thrown ball, back corner of the end zone, outside shoulder, only where Deontay could get it, just couldn't make the play. But even on that final drive, the incompletions were impressive.
Yeah, let's see. He had an incomplete short left to Najee. Was that was down at the end of the first drive, was it not? And I think. I think that was a kind of corner in the end zone there was his first incompletion. Is that correct? Or was he down the distance? Yard line was
it was Pickett, I think, referenced that in the postgame. It was similar to the touchdown where he was scramble drill through back shoulder that time, and I think Smith made a decent contest on that one.
And then the second incompletion was the throw to Pickens in the end zone. The third one was it was actually a completed ball to Pickens, but it was an illegal touching pass. Let's see. The next one was an incomplete short right to Deontay Johnson. Do you remember what happened there?
I don't.
23. I'm not recalling that one. Another incomplete short right to Freiermuth. I don't know. Was that one that maybe Freiermuth dropped?
No, that was a throw kind of right middle where Clark came in and had a good coverage on it.
All right, another one, incomplete short right to Freiermuth with Urban. That might have been a knock. That was a bat down right there.
Yeah, that was the batted pass.
Let's see. Then you have an incomplete short left to Deontay Johnson, and that might have been the rush by Kyle Hamilton, free rush off the edge, I think, on that one maybe. Incomplete short middle to Deontay Johnson with pressure from Houston on that one. Some of these aren't sticking out of my head right now, but overall, once again, not going to fault him for low number of attempts and completing the passes they did. The key aspect is those ones that he completed on that final drive when they absolutely had to have it. And, they did a very good job, I think, overall of staying in third and manageable in this game as well, too, right?
Yeah, they were 10 of 16 on third down. One of the most impressive stats is before the bye, they were the 27th ranked third down offense at, I think it was around 33%. And, heading into this game, they were the second best third down offense since the bye, 52% to go 10 for 16, 62.5% in this game. So they're probably sitting 53, 54% post bye, right up there with Dallas for the best mark in the league. So that's partly a better run game, getting in more manageable situations, but you still have to execute in a bunch of quarterback sneaks and Derek Watt dives and good plays by Pickett throwing the football. 10 of 16 on third down. Those are winning numbers.
Looks like they went 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 3. Then there was a 3rd and 14, 3rd and 4, a 3rd and 4, a 3rd and 4, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 18, a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 1, and a 3rd and 8 within there. So a lot of those, as I mentioned, 5 yards or fewer needed in those situations there. And man, if you stay ahead of the chains like that, and especially look, the Ravens for a long time in that game are playing too high, right? Kind of inviting the run too.
Yeah, I want to talk about, obviously Pickett's performance was excellent, and that's going to get all the attention as it should. But, man, how about the play of this offensive line? I thought they were really good across the board in this one. I know Baltimore missing some pieces. Calais Campbell being out was a big loss for them, but I thought run game, pass protection, not that they weren't perfect, but I thought the whole line in general was really good in this game, giving Pickett lots of time, keeping the pocket clean. And what they did as a run block unit, getting a push up front, first level movement to run for $198 against Baltimore. Hats off to this offensive line.
Look, yeah, they were without Calais Campbell, but they got a couple of talented linebackers in that second level with Queen and Roquan Smith, obviously. And it kind of felt like what the Ravens have done to the Steelers in past. Line always seemed to get a good push off of the off the snap, and then it seemed like 4 or 5 yards per carry, and the runner always falling forward at the end. So some really, really good hard running in this game. Man, Jaylen Warren, 12 carries, 76 yards, both season highs for him, and mixed in that 76 yards was that key 31-yard run there, I think, in the first drive there. And you go back to that. I recall in that game against the Ravens that last time, I thought, man, they asked him, Gunnar Olszewski, to do things he probably doesn't need to do. Well, call this one Gunner's revenge, if you will, because he was out there in space. And I think it was the last time it was Marlon Humphrey that sat him down, if you will. Well, this time Gunner got the best of Marlon Humphrey out there on the edge, and that helped spur that long run there. And you know me, it took me a long time to come down from that 31-yard run during that game, because you know me and loving those explosive runs, but they all ran hard. There was some good split zone action, and even I think Matt Bowen this morning has got the early version of the all 22 end zone tape there. There's a good instance on one of split flow zone with the jet motion of Najee doing a really good job of navigating right before he gets to the second level to find some running room in there as well too. So both the backs I thought were tremendous carrying the football. I think that's represented, as you said, by 198 yards on the ground. And yeah, I know Calais Campbell was out for them, but to get that kind of rushing yardage on the ground against the Ravens, you've done something. And once again, testament to this offensive line has grown. I mean, I remember talking ahead of the season, man, thinking, good Lord have mercy, what's going to happen here with this offensive line? But with them being able to stay healthy and have that continuity all season, it really has paid off for them, especially after the bye. This team is 6-2 after the bye, if you can believe it.
NBC saying that the Steelers are the only O-line in football to have the same starting five every single game of the season. And for a young group that had to endure those growing pains and ups and downs and struggles, you're seeing the benefit of that health, that continuity, that growth pay off here during this stretch run. 198 yards against Baltimore, most Pittsburgh's had against the Ravens since 1997. And so, I mean, the Ravens just do not allow yards like this. Last time Baltimore allowed $198 to anyone in a regulation game was 2013. So it's been a decade. And Pittsburgh just ran so hard. Even I was laughing at the picture you posted late last night of the first fullback dive to Derek Watt. And it felt like Watt was kind of leaning initially because he thought there'd be something in front of him to lean into, but the line got such a push that they're blowing the Ravens 3 yards off the football, and Watt easily picks up the first down, gets 3 yards on that play. So that kind of just early set the tone about how physical Pittsburgh was going to be in this matchup.
Yeah, look, and that's what you're going to need, especially with a young quarterback, moving forward. And that game, the good thing about that game is it never got out of hand for them, and they were able to stick with the run even later on in the game there. And, that kind of balance. And once again, them managing to stay in those third and shorter situations for most of the game, that helped win them the game.
Yeah. On quarterback sneaks, I mean, it was even whatever it takes. Whatever Najee
He's
Harris,
good at that, man. I tell you.
Find the bubble.
Yeah, if you look at, I think he's 13 for 13. Pickett is 30, and not all of them are quarterback sneaks, but most of them are. Kenny Pickett is 13 of 13 when needing 1 or 2 yards, on the season here. And I think that takes in last night, or does it? I don't. Yeah, it's got last night's in here. Yeah.
Najee Harris deserves an assist for that final one, though, because he picked up Kenny Pickett and put him across the first down marker there. But yeah, this line did a great job. The backs ran hard. Jaylen Warren just, he just does so many things for this team, Dave, whether you're talking blocking, pass game as a check down option, good hands, some tough, good hand catches by Jaylen Warren last night. Najee Harris as well. But Warren downhill as a runner, special teams, just energy, tempo, just does it all and just has that undrafted free agent mentality, that big chip on his shoulder. Just love watching that guy play and what he's able to do, big things and small.
Look, the single best thing they have done through the second half of this season is start giving him more touches and start alleviating some of the work off of Najee Harris. And we've said this a few times in the last several weeks when it comes to Jaylen Warren. I mean, that guy is an all-purpose back that you can put out there in any given situation that you want to. A lot of times you see some of these backs. You go back to Milwaukee Moore and stuff like that. Guys that probably mostly you only put out there. I mean, you could put them out there as a change of kind of series guys. But mostly it was kind of more of a change of pace, a guy that you'd use in a passing game. Jaylen Warren can pass protect for you. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can run in between the tackles. He can run outside the tackles for you. So those two right now, it's imperative that you keep the workload down on Najee, I think. And I think that's played a big part, that along with the offensive line, the cohesion of the offensive line, all of that mixed together, I think is what has really elevated this team's running game to this point. Look, the only thing that I really think would like to see that more out of this running game at this point is just more of those tenor, what Mike Tomlin would probably term an explosive run. I obviously think of them as 20 yards or longer, but I think in NFL circles, they think of them as 10 yards or longer. That's really the only thing I think right now when it comes to the running game that you'd like to see more of.
Yeah, but hey, I'll take what happened last night every day of the week, because 198 consistently running well, avoiding, generally speaking, negative plays. There were a couple in this one that's going to happen when you're facing this Ravens team, when you're running
one
the
time,
ball to slip.
Cole got pushed right on back, and a negative. What was that? -7 run on that one.
Yeah, I think Najee was trying to do a little bit too much there, but overall, that's going to happen occasionally. Many more positive plays than negative ones, and I thought the line was excellent. So just want to shout, even in pass protection, giving Pickett a lot of time there against a tough Ravens team with some good pass rushers that can present some different looks. I thought this offensive line, as much as they were criticized for early in the season by myself, by others, and rightfully so, they have gotten a whole lot better.
Yeah. Now look, they still need to address the depth of this line, but I bet they're, Mike Tomlin had a pretty profound kind of quote after the game when asked about the offensive line, right?
Yeah, he said something to the effect of, "You guys don't ask me about the offensive line anymore." So that means they're playing better, and so he's kind of very much had that steady line of they're getting better, they're going to keep playing, they're going to keep growing, and that's exactly what's happened.
He says he was asked about the offensive line play. He says those guys have been on the upswing all year. Matter of fact, you guys stopped asking me about them in a negative light. That's probably a good thing. Yeah, that damn sure is when it comes to that. But line moving forward, you picking up the short yardage situation. Kenny Pickett good in quarterback sneak situations there. Negative plays are behind the line of scrimmage are obviously way down on top of it. You getting both of your backs on the field and mixing it up in there. Had a couple of times when I think they even had two in the backfield last night, did they not?
Yeah, they've been mixing with some of those pony looks. Last couple of weeks, I think our charting would have to reflect exactly how much that's been used and when that started. But this is not the first time that it's occurred, and they've just been doing some different wrinkles with that. So just finding ways to utilize all their talent. Connor Hayward played quite a bit in this game, so they're really mixing and matching their whole personnel.
Now you just want to see the offense score more points, right?
Right. Still 16 points isn't generally going to be enough, but that is a very tough Ravens defense, not allowing many points. And so I thought, they didn't always finish their drives as well as they could have. You did have a Boswell missed field goal in that one, so that was a chance for points that was not capitalized by the special teams unit. But I'm just happy that they were able to finish this one and make the plays when they had to.
Man, from where this offense was, in week one, or where we thought this offense was going to start off at ahead of the season, to where this offense is right now, is quite a development there.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always reflected in the points per game, but it's reflected in numbers like not turning the football over, 0 turnovers in this game. How about time of possession? Had the ball for 34 minutes and 14 seconds, Dave. They ran 70 plays in this game. Baltimore ran 50 plays in this game. So you're controlling the ball, controlling the clock, winning at the line of scrimmage to win late, putting drives together when you have to. Again, not an offense that's going to score 30, not an offense that's going to be a big passing attack. They have to run the ball efficiently, successfully in order to compete, to keep scores down, to maintain possession of the football. They're not built to go toe to toe for the Bills and the Chiefs and teams like that, but they have found their identity. They have found their winning formula. And those were things they didn't have the first half of the season. 4
explosive plays last night. I think 3 came in the fourth quarter.
Wow. 3 in the fourth quarter. That's huge. And the other one, I guess, was the Jaylen Warren 31 yard run there. So, yeah, and I think you said Baltimore only had 1 explosive play.
Right.
Plus the turnover, so talk stat very much in Pittsburgh's favor.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it felt like Baltimore had more than 1 for some reason, but it was only 1. And as you state, you have the explosive play differential, and then you throw in the turnover differential there, and it says the Steelers should have won that game.
And here we are. And they did. Yeah. Quick look at the pass game. The receivers, again, very much a typical Steelers contest where the ball was spread around. I mean, 6 receivers caught passes. They all caught either 2 or 3. Nobody caught more than 3. Nobody caught just 1. It was concentrated to 6 players, but they made plays. Harris on the touchdown, Warren check down options, some big third down conversions, Freiermuth and scramble drills on third down. Same with George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, his yak. I think you noted that, Dave, and Steven Sims making plays as well. None bigger than the 28-yarder on that final drive. And so everybody doing their part in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that one play had to have been his longest yak of the year, right?
You cut out there. Can you repeat exactly what you said?
Hello? Okay, I said that one play that Deontay had, it had to be his longest yak of the year.
I'd have to look. I'm not how much yak was on that play.
I don't know. Quite a bit. I'll tell you that.
Okay. Yeah, it was a good post catch play on the right side there. But again, everybody doing their part. Even though it was a quiet game for Pickens, that 3rd and 14 catch he had, big conversion there. Just a well-rounded team effort, which is kind of how this team's been winning games since the bye week.
Absolutely.
So, Dave, any other thoughts here with the Steelers offense? Again, a very Steelers-like game, ran the ball a lot, ran it effectively, 1 on 3rd down. possessed the ball, took care of the football. All the boxes this team must check to win, and they did.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've smelled the offense quite a bit here now, and as I stated, all the only thing you want to see more points now.
Right. But hopefully that will come with time, and what Kenny Pickett showed hopefully lends itself to scoring more in the future. So Pittsburgh's defense, Baltimore, they ran the ball, they got theirs, and we knew that this team was not going to hold the Ravens to 35 yards rushing. That's just not something that Baltimore does. But a $120 in this one, was it perfect? No. Was there some sloppiness, some missed tackles, J.K. Dobbins getting more daylight, some should be negative plays to turn into positive plays for the Ravens? All those things are true. But bottom line is, you didn't allow 215 the way you allowed it the first time, 120 in this game, no back-breaking type plays. You won. I thought on the run defense, Pittsburgh won the early portions of the game. They won the late portions of the game. In the middle, it got a bit soft. But overall, I'm happy with the job the run defense did.
Yeah, and they came out once again, like we said at the top of the show. They came out initially, or came out with the idea they were going to go heavy up front. They were going to say, "Hey, look, you're not going to run the football on us." They did, and we obviously haven't looked at the all 22 yet, but they did seem to have a little bit of success early on there, or at times throughout the game. But when it got into big situations there, short yardage, they were able to get some stops in some key situations there.
Yeah, there were some really critical stops, 3rd and short, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 type moments in this game where Pittsburgh really stood tall. There was one, I want to find the play here. I just had it a moment ago, and now I'm losing it. It was a 3rd and 2, 5:09 left in the fourth quarter. Ravens at their 44. J.K. Dobbins stopped at the line of scrimmage, forcing a punt that eventually led up to the Pickett game-winning touchdown drive. And so that's one of those plays you want to mark down there, 3rd and 2, run stuff to get the ball back. So again, there were some issues, but I thought early and late in critical moments, this run defense stepped up. But you're right, they went heavy. They ran their 4-4 defense, so 4 true defensive linemen, DeMarvin Leal being that 4th defensive lineman, Mark Robinson in the game over Devin Bush, and that was a package that seemed to work pretty well.
Well, that speaks volumes. I thought maybe there'd be a chance that we see a little bit of Mark Robinson in this game. I didn't think we'd see that much of it. He played a lot. And look, I think one of the bigger complaints, especially in the first 3 quarters of the game, overall, was the fact that too many yards after contact. They had some situations where they, I think a couple times they could have had them right at about 1 or 2 yards, or even a time or two in the backfield there, and they didn't get it there. A couple of missed tackles in there, and once again, I thought the Ravens were getting way too many yards after contact kind of early in this thing, but almost like we've seen several times throughout the season, especially in some of these wins, they settled down. And you go back to that game against the Ravens. The last time they gave up the 200 something yards, but they held the score down. Where is that fine line at?
Yeah, I think it comes down to situational football. And again, in that week 14 matchup, the Ravens ran out the clock. They were trying to do so in this one. I go back to that 3rd and 2 play where in week 14, Pittsburgh allows that one. And in week 17, Pittsburgh stuffs that one. And that's kind of the differences in the margin of the game. So again, Baltimore always going to have success on the ground. That's their identity. It's how they're built, especially without Lamar Jackson. Still, the passing game has been really nerfed and is pretty non-existent. But can you win in those big, weighty moments? Pittsburgh did routinely in this game. Baltimore on 3rd down, they were just 5 of 12. And so those are winning numbers for your defense overall. But yeah, that 4-4 defense, it's based off of personnel and what the Ravens do. So when they come out in one receiver looks, let's say, 22 personnel, 13 personnel, that's when Pittsburgh brings their big people in to match Ricard, match Oliver, all those guys in their 4-4 defense. So it was, Robinson played a ton. It was really tied to what Baltimore was doing, but they played well. Leal played well, and that was effective package overall. Really, had it not been for the Miles Jack injury, should note that Jack, that groin injury has been bugging him for weeks now, left in the first half of this game. Devin Bush came in, got some snaps, but really Devin Bush was a non-factor in this game, at least in terms of the game plan. It was Spillane every down, Robinson 4-4, Jack mixing in a bit of traditional base and some nickel defenses, and Devin Bush really not having a role. And so that also speaks volumes to Steelers Ravens. We want guys who stop the run, play the run the best. Pittsburgh saying Devin Bush was not that guy.
Right, and he's not that guy moving forward, obviously. And it is. Look, you're still in this thing. You're obviously winning games, and you're able to finally get Mark Robinson on the field and get him some snaps. So you're crossing off a lot of things there at one time. I think it's going to show him being a little bit too aggressive and maybe being out of some gaps on the all 22. But as Mike Thomas says, rather say whoa than sick 'em, right? In that. And I think there was a time or two that Edmonds had to communicate something maybe to him in that on defense. I think that'll be another thing that sticks out. But that guy's not afraid to put the motorcycle helmet on and stick his head through the wall,
Yeah. He's a bull in a china shop, and there's going to be some broken glass sometimes that you don't want to break. But, more often than not, he's making the right play, making the good play. I don't think he's overly aggressive in the sense of totally abandoning assignments and playing so outside of structure that it's a major problem, but all learning experiences for him. So I know that Robinson will be talked about the most in this game because of the excitement about him getting snaps and the overall effectiveness of him in this run defense. But how about Bob Spillane? Robert Spillane, what a game by him. 9 tackles, all situations guy, taking down screens, great open field tackles, taking down Tyler Huntley on a couple of quarterback design runs. I thought Spillane was maybe the guy that played the best football in this game.
He must have listened to us in that last podcast, huh? He did play a very good game in their overall. And when you're playing teams like that are determined to run downhill on you, you need a force equal and opposite force going the other direction, and he was that, man. He obviously has his warts, but he has played enough in these games, right, against the Ravens,
right.
that I mean, when you think about it, I mean, of guys on that defense, how many guys on that defense has played in as many Ravens Steelers games as he has?
Only a couple. Watt,
obviously
Hayward.
Cam and Watt, but there's not many of them. I mean, Alualu's have played in a handful of them at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there are some Minka and Edmonds and Cam Sutton, but bottom line is, I mean, for the front 7 group, that linebacker group, not many. And what Spillane did in this game reminds me of what he showed in training camp. He was just everywhere, no matter what the play was. Short pass game, run game, quarterback design game. Robert Spillane was the dude making the play. And so, as you said, he has limitations. Those are clear. Those are obvious, well documented. But this guy's really smart. They trust him. He's fundamental, played much better in this game than he did against Week 14. And you're seeing why he's become the guy in that off-ball linebacker room, in part due to injuries. But still, he's playing over Devin Bush considerably, and Bush is 100% healthy. So you really see why this team likes Robert Spillane.
Absolutely.
Any other thoughts here with this front 7, this run defense? Again, just steady. Cam was excellent. The line just seemed to be in position, holding the point of attack. The outside linebackers playing well. TJ Watt, a nice game for him. He was really giving Morgan Moses trouble on the right side, picks up a sack, couple of quarterback hits. So, just front 7 playing as an 11-man or a 7-man unit to make up that really sound run defense. Yeah,
look, there was a couple of times too, probably a couple of interceptions they could have had in this game. One by Cam Sutton, I think, early, and I'm trying to think if there's another one in there I had circled and all, but I take your hat off and hand it to them the way they played in the defensively in the second half overall. Once again, it seemed like this was going to be each team was only going to get the ball like 4 times in this game.
Well, the first quarter there were 2 possessions.
I know, yeah, and that's why I said it kind of felt like it was going to be a very limited possession game, and it was. But the Ravens' final 4 possessions, 4 plays, 3 plays, 3 plays, and 5 plays. That really speaks volumes, about how that defense played in that second half.
It does, and that's the difference between Baltimore running for 120 still seems like a pretty nice number. What's the difference? Second half play, big stops late. Again, very similar to the Raiders game. Over the last 4 games in the second half, so the last 4 second halves of games for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've only allowed 15 points, and they've only allowed 3 over the last 2. Shut out the Raiders in the second half, allowed a field goal to Baltimore in the second half. So, I'm not even sure if that's adjustments, as it really just as making plays and, stepping up when the game's on the line, when the season is on the line. And this defense has done a masterful job of that.
Really, really has. Boy, and, like Keith Butler, you say, keep it, 17 points or under, you're going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, and that's the mantra for both these teams. Both teams held under 17 points, but Pittsburgh coming away with the victory 16-13. So, secondary play, Minkah calling game again. It wasn't, I think maybe it had a miscommunication, I assume, on that last throw by Tyler Huntley, but it always seems to be when there's an interception to be had, a ball over the middle, 39's finding it.
And he's got a magnet in him, doesn't he?
He does. And even when that ankle, when that injury happened, we're like, oh my God.
I thought it was Achilles. It was Achilles the way he grabbed at the back of his, because you always try to see where they grab initially there, and he grabbed at the back of that, and you didn't have that once they showed that extra replay, you felt a lot more confident that it was an ankle at that point. But the initial TV view of him going down and grabbing, I thought, oh Lord, please don't let that be an Achilles. But man, he went out and got it taped up and came back in. I think he said after the game it hurt. It hurt, and I imagine it did, the way you look at that TV replay and how he twisted that ankle there. But props to him coming back out and making a play to end it there. It was funny to hear Tyler Huntley talk after the games. What was he trying to do on that final interception? He says, trying to make a play, Minkah made a play.
That's what he does.
Yeah. So, and look, you needed that because there was still time in that game. And obviously you got the best kicker in the NFL on the other side, and they get anywhere close to midfield, you start thinking that's Tucker range there. So, to take the ball away from them and just end it just like that, that's how great, Ravens Steelers games end up going.
Minkah got that Mason Colt tape, wrapped that thing up as tight as you could. Dude probably can't put his shoes on today because that ankle's probably so swollen. But yeah, that's a warrior type moment. How many big plays has Minkah had against the Ravens? Think about the breakup he had, last year, and that I think it was last year, and that sideline play to I think Hollywood Brown, and the plays he made in this one, the interception, career high interceptions for Minkah Fitzpatrick, 6 interceptions, even more than he had in that first season in 2019. Coming over in Pittsburgh, the only 2 players since 2000 to have 6 interceptions in a season for the Steelers are Minkah Fitzpatrick and Troy Polamalu. And so that's a great company to be in.
And they've been, and we talked too, you go back, there's a handful of interceptions they probably could have very easily had. And I know if you go through all the team's tapes throughout the season, there's a whole bunch of woulda, coulda, shouldas and all like that. But there's been quite a few of them that have been in some arms that they probably should have had. So the fact that they've had the amount of interceptions, that's been the big, that's what's, that's played a big part in them being where they are right now, record wise,
Yep. And they are currently now tied for the league lead in picks with 18, tied with New England. So they had the sole lead coming into this weekend. Now they're tied for first place with the one. I guess New England had at least 2 in this game. But 18 interceptions, and that was a big one there to close things out. Other than that, the secondary, Mark Andrews, much more of an impact in this game on benders, on crossers, had Edmonds on him early. That didn't work. Even Minkah didn't always have success against Andrews later in the game, including the play that he got hurt on. So Andrews got his, but beyond that, there really are no other viable threats to the pass game for the Ravens. Likely did have the touchdown, a nice route, good matchup against Arthur Millette. I guess we should talk about that moment now, Dave, with Cam Hayward. It's third and 6.
I was wondering when you're going to get to it.
Well, because had they lost, we've been leading the show with this one. All's well that ends well, I guess, for this one. But 3rd and 16, 22 seconds left in the first half. The Ravens just to give up drop play to basically run clock, go into the half to try to kick a field goal. So Dobbins gets tackled for 7. And there's kind of a a little, scrum, little pile up there. Cam Hayward flagged for unnecessary roughness, 15-yard penalty, or half the distance, whatever it was. And then Ravens get fresh set of downs. Next play, throw a touchdown to Likely to take that lead into halftime. I'm not one to complain about the refs too much. I let other people do that. It's pretty easy to do any given game, but that was just a bad call by the officials.
Yeah, and at first, I didn't think it was. I thought it was somebody else maybe doing something in the pile, because surely it can't be Cam Hayward going to take a penalty such as that initially. But man, I mean, immediately right after that, when they started showing the replays, it's a little bit trigger happy in my view. And you even go back even further and look at it. He's getting pulled down around his the collar of his neck. He's getting pulled down back into the pile, and at that point his arm's coming down. He makes contact with the ref in that situation. Now I think the actual pull report after the game, Land Clark said, I'm going to quote here, well, there was some pushing and shoving after the play. Number 97 continued to push after the play, and that's why it was called. Well, they were all kind of pushing each other down in there. It just so happened that Cam Hayward was on top of it, overall there. But after a key third down stop, these two teams, there's obviously emotion in this game. There was some jawing throughout this game overall. Anyway, there, it felt kind of ticky tack for the situation, and look, I know you can't go through and have every single thing reviewed, but it sure felt like some sort of overruling should have happened in this one, because once again, he was getting pulled back down onto the pile, and if had that extra action at that point not happen, was the flag hadn't been thrown at that point, had it? I think it's hard to tell on the TV copy of it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. All I know
when the flag was actually thrown.
Right. I couldn't tell you the exact timeline there. All I know is that if pushing and shoving, some very light pushing and shoving in a Steelers-Ravens game is a flag, then there are some games from a decade ago that should involve arrest, because pushing and shoving in a Steelers-Ravens game is about as tame as Steelers-Ravens get. And Hayward was on top of the pile. He's trying to get off the pile as well. So it's partly just him trying to, he's like crowd surfing the Ravens, bodies there. And that's just kind of the moment there. So to me, none of that warranted a flag. That Steelers-Ravens, that when you're officiating that one, that is as mild and tame as it gets in matchups like this one.
Right. You talk about a turning point, man.
Oh yeah.
That most definitely could have been something that would have been incredible, tough to overcome at that point, because the very next play, I mean, you go from getting a stop and a sure 3-point, that's a 4-point swing, and the whole momentum thing, that goes along with it at that point. Glad we didn't have to lead off with that.
Amen to that. And then I know on the sideline there was a bit of a confrontation between Minka and Cam Hayward, which is all much ado about nothing. I think what happened there was Fitzpatrick didn't even know what the flag was for, just saw a penalty, was upset about that, and Hayward trying to say, hey man, I didn't do anything. I don't even know why they called this one. So I know that those things always get attention when they happen on the sideline, but to me that's a nothing burger there.
Right. Just emotion.
Yeah. So anyway, but besides that, Pittsburgh playing clean, and again, Hayward should not have been flagged for that one, not even close to a penalty there. But any other final thoughts here on the Steelers defense?
Man, TJ Watt can still kind of take over a game in certain situations, and you need that, right?
Yeah, he was winning the edge consistently, just trying to find his footing and finish the play against the mobile quarterback. I thought overall the contain on Huntley got better as the game went on. Early on, some escape lanes there, maybe some holds that weren't called, but, I won't complain more about the officials there. TJ Watt now has 77 sacks through 6 seasons. Since sacks became official in 1982, the only players with more sacks through their first 6 seasons are Reggie White and DeMarcus Ware. TJ Watt passing up J.J. Watt, older brother, retiring, and Bruce Smith. And so despite all the injuries and the lackluster stats, T.J. Watt still having big historic numbers at this point in his career.
What about the Kenny fall down sack?
We disagree on this one, unless you changed your mind.
No, I mean, I understand. I mean, his answer after the game, no, don't want to play hero ball in that situation and all like that. But it sure seemed like it was sands running through the hourglass waiting once he went down there. I mean, I understand tripping and all like that. I mean, I understand, and I have no problem with his answer after the game. It's just get up and throw the damn football away.
I know, and I get that, but Kenny doesn't have the view that we have of the wide-eye lens of the TV camera. He has no idea who's around him. You don't practice being tripped on a bootleg, and you don't know if there's a backside player or frontside player end that's not being blocked on those boots. And the last thing you need is to try to get up where your ball security isn't perfect as you're trying to get to your feet. You get hit, ball squirts out. You don't need to risk that stuff. You cannot have turnovers in this game. I know it looks silly. It looks bad. I said it in real time. I have no problem. Turtle, as much as you want there, go. He went full Peyton Manning, and that's fine with me. Just turtle, take the sack, fight another down.
Yeah, it seemed it seemed like that was about a 15-minute segment within all that, like everything was moving into slow motion at that point. And once again, I guess I should kind of pull up exactly what he had to say after the game, just to add context for everybody here.
And he did, although it's hindsight and results based, they did convert on that. That was the 3rd and 14 to pick, and so they ended up atoning for the issue there.
He says on the play, let's see, where is it here?
Basically just saying, didn't want to turn the ball over, don't play hero ball. I think that was the phrase that you used that he had quoted.
I'm
after
not
the game.
Seeing it in the actual transcript here.
Might have removed it, I guess. Hiding. But that was what he said, don't want to play hero ball, don't want to take that, make a bad play worse, and I have no problem with that.
Okay. All right. I mean, look, it in the grand scheme of things, it's just something that I felt we needed to address in this because it was.
Yeah. I mean, it was an ugly, unfortunate you trip on. That was Harris that he tripped on, right, whenever he went to turn out?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
They clip feet there.
Gotcha.
I think you'll be able to see that better in the end zone, all 22, than either of the TV plays there.
Okay. Anything from a snap count perspective that's interesting? I'm trying to look at some of the numbers here that just reading off of PFR. Tight ends playing a lot. Jaylen Warren, 40% of the snaps. So you just to go back to a comment you made earlier. Yeah, I think one of the smartest things Tomlin's done is kind of swallowed his pride and gotten off the workhorse back mentality of having just one guy be the guy that does it all, which he had Lev Bell and Connor when he was healthy, and the attempt with Najee Harris last year and really split time, keep guys fresh. And certainly Warren has been able to earn that opportunity and has compelled Tomlin to get off the workhorse thing, so that there's that aspect of it. But that's been really good for both guys, this run game overall.
Real quick, how's Montravius Adams going to grade out in this game?
It's hard to see the nose tackle. Go ahead.
I don't feel, watching the TV tape last night, I don't feel like he's going to grade out all that well.
Okay. I really couldn't get a good feel. I'm sure there was some negativity there. It can't be worse than the first matchup, I don't think, but I really don't have a great feel there.
That's where this team needs to help, right? Off season.
Yeah, I think Adams comes back. I think as a backup. I thought he played well against the Raiders. It's still been a disappointing year for him overall. Alualu's going to retire. Just general defensive line help, because normally with the ACL, Loudermilk's been a disappointment. Leal, I still don't know what Leal is going to be. Is he really going to be a true 3-4 guy? I don't see that. I think he's kind of the guy that was used in this role last night. Is that big hybrid outside linebacker that kind of moves around as a good athlete, interior sub-package rusher. So there's probably work to do at both your more 4 tech and 0-1 tech.
All right, and Alex, your kneel down.
I want to check the all-22, but I'm pretty sure James Daniels was at right guard. So I was looking for that. It wasn't my first thought off the Minka pick, but it was one of the first 5 thoughts that I had after the interception there. I think he was at right guard. Some other people on Twitter also watching now said the same. So that's the smart thing. Don't mess around in a game like that. Just line up at right guard, take the knee, and take the win.
I think, did it go Dotson left tackle, Moore left guard, Cole?
Really?
Hold on a minute here. Cole center, Daniels right guard, Okorafor,
Right tackle.
right tackle.
So Dotson and Moore switched.
Dotson was your left tackle.
Okay.
And Moore was your left guard.
Dotson wants that left tackle money. I guess that's what he's going for. Played snaps left tackle. Pay me like one. I didn't even catch that. So good catch by you. So I guess it's not just James Daniels moving around the whole lines doing it as well. So that's kind of interesting to see.
All right. Tell us about an up back.
Elijah Riley. It wasn't Jalen Warren. It was Elijah Riley as the up back. The good news is they barely punted in this game, which is the best outcome when you're on your third string up back. 2 punts and both safe rushes from Baltimore. And Harvin, that second punt by Harvin was one of his best punts of the season. 51 yards, perfectly placed right sideline. Miles Boykin did a great job to limit net there. 49-yard net is an elite number. Harvin's placement has really been strong. At least it's gotten a lot better this year. They ask a lot out of him. It's not just boom it between the numbers. They really want to get distance and limit returns. And that was an A-plus punt by Presley Harvin when you were backed up a little bit to really kind of flip that field.
Talking about flipping field, boy, they had a nice return in that game, did they not, the Ravens?
Yeah, unfortunately, aside from the Harvin punts, the special teams were not that special in this one. I thought it was really bad across the board. The Boz missed field goal, the 2 penalties on punt returns that flipped fields, including one where you should have had great field position. You end up at your 25-yard line. The long kick return by Justice Hill, even there was another kick return that got out around the 30 that wasn't acceptable. So kick coverage has been poor all year long. So I love myself some Danny Smith, but that unit has not been good enough, and special teams overall was not good enough on Sunday night.
Yeah, where are the plays? We've been talking all season. Where are the plays? At least a couple. Where's the block punt? Where's the rip out of the football? Where is that stuff?
It's not even that for me. It's the negative plays. I mean, I want the big plays, but I don't want the big negative ones against you. The long returns and the missed field goals. Boswell. Just have Boss kick everything from 50 plus. He's so much better from 50 plus this year than he is from 40 to 49. So just even if you have to back yourself up 5 yards, take a penalty, take a delay a game, and make it a 50-yarder for Boss.
All right. There was a bit of a question coming into kind of the final, last couple of games here. Who's going to be the Steelers' Joe Green Rookie of the Year award winner? I think it's easy to answer that question now.
You're saying Pickett?
Yeah, it's got to be Pickett now.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously the stats aren't the gaudiest thing, but you look at the way this team's rallied in 2 game-winning drives, and apparently, I forget the publication, I apologize, Optra Stats, whatever, I think that's something, how they're named, but apparently Pickett, the first rookie quarterback in NFL history to have consecutive, back-to-back game-winning drives. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of deserving guys, Pickens, Jalen Warren, obviously, Kenny Pickett, but I think what Pickett's done as a leader to help rally this team, to bring them back from 2-6, 3-7, I think it's going to be Kenny Pickett.
Because, it was a question going into kind of week 14 still, theoretically, right? Because that was the game against the Ravens, and then Pickett gets knocked out of that game early, and then Pickett misses the next game against the Panthers, right? And then you pick back up against the Raiders in this game. So I think these last 2 games, at this point, there should be no question in my mind. I think Pickett is your rookie, your Steelers Rookie of the Year. Before the season started, I put on Twitter, if Mike Tomlin gets his team to the playoffs, they need to build a statue. I'm still there. That's where I am with this thing, Alex. I honestly can't believe that we're having a conversation right now that this team is, has a plausible scenario of making playoffs right now. And I think that speaks volumes for the job that Mike Tomlin's done.
Should we be honest about some of the inside baseball we've been doing on the back end of the site, or should we keep that under wraps with some of the stuff we've had at the ready? Can we talk about that?
Go ahead.
What I've done
we do anyway. It's just minutia, but
for the last couple of weeks, I've had basically the equivalent of campaign concession speeches written up about the Steelers. Oh, they're eliminated from the playoffs. They had their first losing season. That article's been ready to go just in case. And every week I go in and start editing it, and every week I say, well, I guess I'm gonna have to publish it, and I don't think I'm gonna have to use this article anymore. So it's not even, we're not even talking about like fanciful if 18 things break and then Pittsburgh makes the playoffs. Now we're in the category of only a couple things have to happen, and those things are realistic. Go over one more time, and I know you did top of the show, but go over one more time the scenarios in which Pittsburgh becomes the 7th seed.
And look, they can even tie if they tie the if they tie the Browns, the Steelers, then they're 8-1, right? And if both the Dolphins and the Patriots, Dolphins and the Patriots both lose their games, they're 8-9, right?
Right. So Pittsburgh gets in.
Right. So, but they would have to tie the Browns that way, and then absolutely both the Dolphins and the Patriots would have to lose. The more likely path is that the Steelers beat the Browns, and then the Patriots can either lose or tie the Bills, and the same goes with the Dolphins against the Jets. Because remember, the Steelers have to get to in that scenario 9-8. They have to have a better record than both the Patriots and the Dolphins. End of story. They cannot tie either one of those two teams with a record there. So ideally, what you want to see happen is the Steelers beat the Browns, and then the Dolphins and Patriots both not win. How's that?
Right. Perfect. And so what happened this weekend that broke so well, in addition to Pittsburgh winning, was Miami losing to the Patriots, and then the Jets losing to Seattle. The Jets didn't have to lose to Seattle for Pittsburgh to still have something to play for, but had the Jets won, that path becomes incredibly narrow to make the postseason.
They would have had to tie the Dolphins in the final week. That would have been part of the scenario, along with the Patriots. Having to do their thing.
Not zero odds, knowing what happened last year for Pittsburgh to almost get bounced on that Raiders-Chargers game, but still would have been 1% type things. Really, for Week 18, the most quote unquote difficult or unlikely part of that scenario is probably Pittsburgh just beating the Browns, because the Dolphins may be on their third string quarterback.
Skylar Thompson.
Yeah, Teddy broke his finger on that pick six, and Tua's in concussion protocol. And I think both Jay Glazer and Mike Florio said that it's unlikely Tua's going to play in this finale. You have the Patriots against the Bills. Bills still playing for something, and the Bills will be heavy favorites there. So if you had to kind of guess at what's most likely to happen, is it more likely that the Jets beat the Dolphins? That's probably closer to a coin flip, but you could certainly argue the Jets winning that one. The Bills likely to beat the Patriots, and Pittsburgh got a good shot to beat the Browns. So it's only 15% right now, but it feels like you got even better odds than that.
Well, they've got to have all three of those games go at the same time, right?
What do you? Oh, in terms of what time they'll kick off? Yeah, I don't know. There's no official announcement. I think the Steelers are they TBA still on the kickoff time?
I think they're trying to decide if it's. I mean, it's going to be on Sunday. It's either going to be a 1 or a 4:05 or 4:25 start. But I would think that you want all those teams playing at the same time. I would think.
Yeah, so that's probably all 1 o'clock starts then to make it. I don't know if you can have 3 at 4 o'clock on that one.
Right.
So. Because there was something was flexed, but it was NFC related last night.
I think the Chiefs one of those teams that got flexed or something like that, moved to Saturday. Here's what it is: Chiefs and Raiders are Saturday at 4:30. The Titans and Jaguars, because obviously that's the winner take all there. Mm-hmm. That's Saturday night there. Okay. And then you got a lot of to be determined here that I guess that they'll figure out here in the next 24 hours or whatnot for Sunday action there.
Gotcha. I think by Wednesday they have to have the game time announced. Or probably have it earlier than that. I would imagine. Yeah. So we'll wait. We'll see. So probably a 1 o'clock game, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Right.
All right, Dave. Any other final thoughts here? Just
real quick. I mean, thoughts on saying. I mean, if they get in the playoffs, should. How much recognition should Tomlin get for that when it comes to coach? He won't win it because I think you're going to have someone like the Giants head coach, right?
Yeah, Brian Daboll's going to win coach of the year, as he should. I mean, he deserves that, 100%. But I mean, Tomlin, it's just going to be unbelievable. Even if this team gets, one and done bounce like last year, to do it with this group where they were at. I mean, it just, again, say what you will about Mike Tomlin, lots of warts. You can critique him in different ways, but these guys fight hard. They don't quit. And a lot of teams would have just laid down being 2-6, getting blown out by the Eagles, going to the bye 3-7. This team perseveres. They fight. They turn it around. And those are all big positive things.
All right. Shall we get to some emails real quick?
Yep, let's get to read emails and close out today's show.
Bryce, we read it out. You're going to have to shorten these up, Bryce. Jeff Berg, hello, fellas. I must admit I was growing concerned that Kenny wasn't able to make plays in the final third to get us more points, especially with the run game going bonkers. Well, he finally did that on the winning drive. Quite impressive now 2 weeks in a row. Still, this offense shouldn't be in such a close game. Defense holding the other team to so few points with rushing attack so potent, but a W is a W. Take it as something to build on. Look, Jeff, I think that's the thing here is close games like this with a young quarterback and a young offense is the offense made plays when they had to down two games in a row now. There baby steps here. When it comes, and we said during the show we want to see more points, obviously, here, but. Man, just looking back at these last two games, the way they've won, kudos to them. I mean, definitely grow up moments, and hopefully the points will follow.
Yeah, and they're big confidence things for this team. I know that sounds a little hokey and doesn't always mean everything, but for a young group that has to prove it to themselves and prove it to other people, to be able to draw on that, not just the theory of let's go out there and win it, but hey, we've been here before, we've done it, and let's do it again for any future games. I think that's really huge. Dan Moore talked about the energy, the confidence. His team knows they can do it, not just thinks they can do it. They know they can do it because they have been doing it.
Paul Brown writes in, talks about the incredible drive for Kenny second week. Says, my question may be silly, but it's something I noticed in all of Kenny's post-game pressers. He is very open in his responses. What I mean by this is he's divulging intricacies of play calls, what he looks for in a defense. Is this something he probably shouldn't do, or does it not really matter since the game is over? Is it something future opponents can take note of, or is it a nothing? But I think maybe you're reading way too much. These teams know what they're trying to do to these quarterbacks, and whether or not the opposing quarterbacks trying to see it. So I don't take issue at all. I mean, if he's divulging stuff like certain checks or hot reads or signals or something, but I don't have any problem with the way Kenny's addressing somebody, and I love it. I love to hear.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear players talk about what they saw and what they didn't see and what led to something.
Yeah, I love the honesty, love the transparency, and it's not saying anything. It's talking pretty basic stuff and structures and all things that opponents can readily see. So it's not any state secrets, I promise.
Charles writes in, I think Pickett got lucky on the winning touchdown. If you watch again, I'm 99% sure he was throwing to Sims and Harris broke off his route in the flat. It counts, but I don't think Pickett meant that for Harris. He says after the game that he did, and here's the thing, you're in scramble drill mode at that point. So everybody's trying to get to where they can help the quarterback on that side of the field there. So I'm not surprised that Sims was in the same area there, but in the same aspect, they're supposed to kind of help the quarterback out in that situation there. And I'm trusting Kenny in what he says that ball was for Najee. I understand where you're coming from, Charles. I just think that in that situation there, it's not going to be uncommon for two players to be in the same vicinity.
Yeah, especially lower red zone, in the end zone, you're bunched up there. I mean, I guess we'll never know exactly for sure, but based on the scramble drill, based on what happened earlier in the game on that back shoulder throw to Najee Harris when Pickett looked for him, I'll take Pickett at his word.
Let's see. Chris from Old Bridge, Minka's hometown. That was awesome. I don't mean to sound like a loser, but it's amazing we're still talking about playoffs in week 18. He said, Dave did say months ago, we need to get Tomlin a statue of this if this team goes over 500. He says, I want to know your thoughts on Najee. He's been getting those extra yards, as Alex has mentioned recently. However, he has a nasty mean side to him and was punishing finishing runs with violence. response tonight. It was a signature game for him in his young career. He says, you guys are sick like myself and can probably recall or search 3 to 5 plays where it'd be off script or design where Najee hasn't made catches down the field or contested catches this year. But tonight he made one when it counted. He says, I agree with no running back in the first, but I feel like he needs some props tonight, but wish he offered more in short passing game this year. Look, I mean, I don't have any issue the way he's played, and it's not his fault he was drafted in the first round. And once again, I've never had issue with Najee Harris. I've had issue with spending the first round pick. Not the player there, but he has really played a lot better since the bye week. Now, was it the foot the whole time? Who knows? Is it the aspect that the offensive line's finally got some continuity and they're mixing in Jaylen Warren with a nice percentage there to kind of take the look. It's probably all the above, to be quite honest with you. But he's running, it feels like, with a lot more confidence. He's running. You're going to see one of these plays start circulating, like I said earlier in the game, earlier in the show, about that split zone flow with the jet motion, where he really does make a nice read on that and shifts to the outside to find the hole in there. He's never going to be the 20-yard producing back, okay? But can he be that kind of power back that he showed that he could be last night, and a guy that you compliment with a guy like Jaylen Warren? Yeah, I think he can be that guy, and he does indeed deserve some compliments, as he does with making that catch down the field last night.
And again, everything you said there is 100% accurate, and I think it is all the above for why the improvement has been so stark. Health, demeanor, O-line, workhorse, less so of that, all those things. This will sound a little hokey as well, but he's just having fun. Like watching him post game, the tweet that you had of him taking away the mic and just having a good time. They're just, they're just loose. They're playing with house money, not supposed to be here, and you're just having fun and balling out. And he just ran so hard. Even that final drive, it was like he's hurdling between the whole. He's in the pile and he's hurdling, guys. I don't even know how he's doing it. It's pretty wild. He just ran so hard. There's one play I got to go back and find the clip of. It's the end of the run. I think it was second half, and he just a massive collision between him and a Raven. He's just bulls forward for an extra yard or two. And you just felt even just watching it slow motion, you could just feel the intensity of that hit. And he's the one winning that matchup by falling for that extra yard. I mean, just both those guys, but I thought Harris in particular just ran so hard and really, really embodied what it means in a Steelers-Ravens matchup.
Well, I think they're going to get a lot more mileage out of both those guys if they keep up this kind. And that's something that I called for kind of early in the season there, man. Get Jaylen on the field more and don't try to, don't make Najee an every down player, if you don't have to. I mean, there's going to be games maybe where Jalen's dinged up or somebody's dinged up or something like that. But I mean, if you can get the kind of split, and we talked about this a couple of podcasts ago, if you can get the kind of split snap wise that they've been doing, you can put Jalen. Jalen's shown that he can be out there on any given snap. And take advantage of that when you can in games to maybe keep Najee fresh so you can have these kind of things happen late in games.
Yeah, when you don't have a true slot receiver, you can be creative with kind of who that last skill guy is going to be. A third tight end, a second running back, the jet, the actual slot guy and gunner and Steven Sims. You got some mixing and matching, and they're doing that, I think, pretty effectively. There is something poetic about, you got a first round, high pedigree guy, Najee Harris, 5-star recruit, as one guy on the other end, Jaylen Warren, Snow College, JUCO, no star recruit on the other. Both guys playing well, both guys contributing. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Boy, what about the addition by subtraction of sending Chase Claypool on his way?
Yeah, I think in some ways it's opened up this offense to be more multiple, to be more varied in its personnel and looks. And obviously they're not getting a ton of production from a receiving standpoint there, but Steven Sims making plays, and there's probably been some creativity that's allowed this offense to do some different things, become more run-minded with, Boykin or extra tight ends. And It's not going too well in Chicago, is it? It doesn't feel like the comments from Claypool yesterday as they lose again.
Everything we saw on tape.
I like to search the Bears' reaction sometimes, and them just getting sadder and more angry week by week about that trade.
I mean, men lie, women lie, children lie, tape don't lie.
It don't lie. I can't believe they did that trade. That's going to be maybe it's still the top pick of the second round. Is that still a possibility?
I mean, it's 33rd right now
33rd?
Overall when you factor in the Miami Dolphins forfeiture. If the Bears lose and the Texans win in the final week, I think it becomes the 32nd overall by technicality there. And Claypool, I mean, he's still speaking that confidence that he thinks of the look. He had no catches in that game on one target for the Bears. He missed the 2 previous games with a knee injury. And look, I'm not, taking an opportunity to crap all over him here, but that I'm talking about from the deal standpoint here. This is a guy that's going to hit the proven performance escalator, I think, this year because of the snaps that he already had percentage in Pittsburgh. So he's going to get a raise. They traded for him. And they gave up what they did because they kind of didn't want to get caught up in the free agency rush, the supply and demand situation during the offseason at wide receiver. This is the guy that's going to enter in the final year of his contract next year, and that's normally extension time. I don't know how you can give that guy an extension right now, Alex. I really don't.
I don't think so either. Again, I will say, I'm not. I mean, on a personal level, as a Steelers fan, I'm all for it. But teams should stop trading for the Steelers receivers. It is not going well when teams do it. They should stop doing it. But I will happily keep giving those guys away for great steals.
We'll never know. But do you think he was somewhat of a cancer in that locker room?
I wouldn't use the word cancer. I think he was a young guy that was maturing and had a lot of immaturity issues, especially last year. I think he was maybe difficult at times. I don't think ever a cancer, but I think he was, not somebody that was, keeping that locker room together or maybe enhancing the quality and the strength of that locker room.
I saw a comment on Twitter or Reddit or one of them says, does he always jump and fall down backwards?
Yeah, he does, Bears fan.
Yeah. Tape don't lie, folks. All right, that's a good opportunity to get out of here. We somehow managed to shift this into crapping on Chase Claypool, so that's not fair. Probably not a good etiquette on our part.
It's fun.
Here.
It's all right. We're having fun.
Yeah. Let's just hope this team wins this final game and gets to 9-8. At least whatever happens after that, right?
Right. Right. Yep. Just survive, advance, win the next one, and so forth. I mean, it's not only the fact the Steelers are winning, but everything is breaking so perfectly. The last 2 weekends, everything has had to break exactly how it's broken for this team to have a realistic shot. And it has. And it happened last year, and it's happening this year, and I just can't get my head around it. 5 weeks ago, I wouldn't have thought we'd be having this conversation for sure. And they were 3-7. They were 3-7. They're going to be basically the only team in NFL history to go from 3-7 and make the playoffs without going 7-8 and 7-9 and winning the East and stuff like that. I mean, this is historical stuff we're watching.
All right, get in and it's get in the tournament, right? That's the goal, and anything. Anything can happen, I guess, but because it has.
And hypothetically, who's most likely to be the 2 seed right now? We have
the Bills, kind of a fight. Right?
Yeah, I think Buffalo's a 2 seed right now. So you're thinking about if all this happens, you're going to face either the Bengals, the Chiefs, or the Bills for a wild card game if you're the 7 seed.
Let's see. The Kansas City's 13-3, Buffalo's 12-3 with a game that needs to be played tonight, right? And they play against Cincinnati. So if Cincinnati wins that game, then I suppose that Kansas City has clinched the playoff berth and a division title. Same with Buffalo. I guess it could be one of those three teams technically as we record this right now.
Right. I think you'd obviously, of the 3, you'd rather see the Bengals again for a third time. But to get in the dance and see what happens.
Right. All right. We will get back after this on Wednesday here. So in the meantime, follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upright navigational bar. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, upright navigational bar on top of everything else there. And a lot of great content coming on SteelersDepot.com this week. We got people getting credentials for the All-Star games. Exciting time, but we don't talk about that. We won't be talking about the draft until the Steelers are out of this thing, and they're not out of it yet as we start making our way towards week 18 here. So as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex. Happy New Year.